Hello people, I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hello.
And we just got done watching the finale of Game of Thrones Season 8, the entire series in general, and you're about to see our reaction. I want to let you guys know up front that I don't think there are a lot of great reactions in this, just because if you've seen the episode already, you would know why. But it's here nevertheless for your viewing pleasure. And then afterwards, stay for the discussion, please. Which is actually for us gonna happen about right now. Anyways, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we drop another video. That's crazy.
Why?
Last episode. It's all culminating in this. This is it. Finito.
Oh.
Alright.
Here we go. What's that?
So how his clothes burned off?
Oh my god. That's when you're just inhaling people particles.
And what are the Queen's commands? Kill all who follow Cersei Lannister. These are free men. They chose to fight for her. Easy, man. Easy. Easy.
Did they get out? No, it's too small. His golden hand. Told ya. Well, at least they're confirmed dead, right?
I don't know, jury's still out on that one. Gosh, everyone sure is taking their time with this episode.
Yeah. That's cool.
Shaka reheshis anhan reheshis andate. Jeve hennioti nochoti nasindas. Seas bostaruti ubridas. Sir Dermi rosse istat. In vabatolvi o viho beoldi darende.
I mean, that's a narrative.
In veni basma tetos taor.
No one's paying attention to Arya over there.
She gives a good speech.
She does give a good speech.
I mean, I liked her delivery.
Yeah, it's hard not to be moved. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, what you doing, Tyrion?
I freed my brother. And you slaughtered his city.
Giving him that look like, John, you know what to do. Be a man, John. Do the right thing. Whatever that is.
Y'all need to have a talk, now. Dude, what are you waiting for, man?
Wait for me outside the city gates. I'll come find you.
John. She knows who you are. Who you really are. You'll always be a threat to her. And I know a killer when I see one.
Oh. No, the dragon's killing everybody. That didn't give it away. It was the look in her face. That's how you knew.
Ah, it's easy to judge when you're standing far from the battlefield.
Would you have done it?
What?
You've been up there, on a dragon's back. You've had that power. Would you have burned the city down?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Yes, you do.
You know Jon Snow.
You won't say because you don't want to betray her. But you know.
Finally.
Everywhere she goes, evil men die, and we cheer her for it. And she grows more powerful and more sure that she is good and right. I know you love her. I love her too. Not as successfully as you. But I believed in her. Do you think I'm the last man she'll execute? Who is more dangerous than the rightful heir to the Iron Throne?
That's her decision. She is the queen.
You're just gonna give up like that, Jon Snow?
This indecision, like, you saw her murder so many people, and he's still like, I don't know, he's just his queen though, you know?
No, he's made his choice though. He's loyal to a fault.
Well, he's deciding to just be cool with the fact that she murdered all those innocent people?
She's his queen, what can he do? A lot, actually. But
Build the new world with me. This is our reason. It has been from the beginning, since you were a little boy with a bastard's name. And I was a little girl who couldn't count to 20.
felt that thing.
Maybe the decision about what's best for everyone should be left to, well, everyone.
Oh, democracy.
All hail Bran the Broken, first of his name, King of the Andals and the First Men, Lord of the Six Kingdoms, and Protector of the Realm.
All hail Bran the Broken!
That was sweet.
What does he say about me?
I don't believe you're mentioned.
Oh.
It's just like the beginning of the show. Remember? Opened with the gate, that was how the show started. Okay, so you've read the books way more than I did. I read 30% of the first book, And you read what?
I've read all of them.
Whatever's out there,
Yeah.
you've read them.
It's been a while, to be fair, since I've read all the books, and I've only read them once over. I think there's a lot of details that have kind of escaped me over the years because it's been a long time, but I almost feel like it's so hard to end a series like this because so many people have been invested in it for so long. I feel like whatever they do, not everyone is going to be happy.
I was admittedly disappointed with this.
Yeah.
A lot of people are upset with this season in general, and there's all these petitions to remake it. I just feel like they could have saved it with this episode, and they didn't. It was like, this is just, you have to accept everything that's happened, and now we're just wrapping this up.
Exactly. I mean, that's what it felt. It felt like, okay, now this is the last episode, so now we're just gonna put a bow on it and end it and have the possibility of maybe some spin-offs as opposed to it being like a button on the end of the series.
Yeah, given the way they set this up before the 2-year, or what was it? It was a 2-year break. They took a year off. Right,
yeah.
whatever that was. Before that happened, they said the reason why is because each episode is going to be like crazy. Each episode is going to be longer and fuller and have more going on. This way we can like sink as much production value into each episode. And I'm like, I don't know that you carried out that promise. The first episode, even the second episode, I'm like, yeah, not a whole lot happened. It was the third, fourth, fifth, and then now this. I'm like, this, not that much happened outside of the dragon melting the chair. There was a lot of stalling, in my opinion. Like they took their time, but for me, it felt like it was stalling just to fill in that time of 90 minutes. I feel like you could have done this episode easily in an hour.
Yeah, and also you could have spent more time, I think, on other cool episodes, like splitting up the battle with the Night King into maybe 2 episodes,
right,
or any of the other battles. Like, I feel like it just all happened very quickly.
Even with that, I felt like, even with that Night King battle, the whole thing, I felt like the battle with the White Walkers, there was a lot of stalling involved. Towards the end, right before Arya goes for the kill, it felt like there was so much stalling leading up to that moment.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the kills in this were just very sudden. Even Daenerys being killed by Jon Snow, I think a lot of us saw that coming, right? I mean, I was reading all the stuff on the internet. People are like, yeah, Jon's got to kill Dany. That's just what's gonna happen. And it did. Right before that happened and he was holding her, and I was thinking like, here it comes.
Yeah, it's very cliche.
Here it comes, and it did. And I was kind of like, I don't really know how to feel about that, you know? It just was all so sudden.
Well, nothing was earned in this season. That's why. Arya killing the Night King, I don't feel like was earned.
No.
Daenerys and Jon Snow falling in love, I don't think was earned, because they were compressing this all down to 6 episodes. And
well, they already started falling in love in season 7.
But just, I didn't feel it enough. Like, even when I saw them making love at the end of season 7, I was like, okay, cool. Let's develop that a little more. And they just didn't. You just have to accept that it happened, like, off camera somewhere.
Right.
I didn't feel the feelings. The people who died in the Red Wedding, talking specifically about Robb Stark and his wife, and his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
Like, you felt that relationship build.
Yeah.
And when they died, the reason why the Red Wedding was so horrifying was because you watched that relationship build, and the way they went out was so horrific. And it's like, okay, that was earned though, whereas nothing here was earned, because I didn't feel like their relationship. It was like, this happened because the show says so, because it had to happen, and that kind of informs everything that's happened with this season.
Well, yeah, because in that moment, I feel like, had it been earned, had I felt more emotionally invested in that, I would have been sobbing. And you know, I am the easiest person to make cry. It was kind of sort of getting there, and I thought that it was really well acted. Like, Kit Harington did a really great job, you know. All of the acting in this was so strong, but
we needed one more battle, one more fight of some kind, something. There needed to be something leading into that final battle. I wanted Daenerys to truly be like, her speech was great.
Yeah.
The way she delivered it was great. I mean, I liked her command of the Dothraki language. It was just, it's Dothraki, right? She wasn't speaking anything else? I don't know. Whatever the language is, I'm sorry if it's wrong. I thought it was Dothraki, Valyrian, whatever the case is. It sounded beautiful the way she did it. I was totally into her speech. But I wanted to see her really, truly be mad. And I think that the only way to have done that is if she was obsessed with Jon Snow. And like there was a fight that took place between her side and Jon Snow's side. Like there was a true division. And even in the midst of this crazy battle, she's still like, we can still be together. We can still make this work. And he goes, okay. And then
stabs
you know
her.
what? But you know what I'm saying? Like there's a way to achieve that result where everybody feels it, most especially the audience. And I don't feel like they did enough work to get us there. It just, everything kind of happened because it had to. That's my feeling about this entire season, is like all these beats just had to happen because there was no emotional connection between the audience and what was transpiring on the screen. You know what it felt like? It felt like the last 40 minutes of Return of the King stretched out over 90 minutes or 2 hours. Whatever, I don't even know how long this was. It felt long.
The runtime was just under an hour and a half, but it really did feel long.
It really felt like the end of Lord of the Rings, but stretched out longer. I really wish that there was some kind of fight leading into, because basically Daenerys went down without a fight.
Yeah.
Literally, there was no fight.
Yeah, it was just too quick. When Daenerys went down, I was thinking like, okay, is this the end of the movie? And then there's this long, drawn out, protracted thing about, oh, now we have to find a king. And it's funny as well because, you know, reading the fan theories and whatnot, and a lot of people were saying, oh, well, Bran's going to be king.
I thought it would have been cool if when Drogon spit fire, it came right at Jon and he just stood there and he was invincible to it. He's impervious to fire because he's also of the same blood.
Yeah, that's what I thought would happen as well. I almost feel like in writing this, they were like, well, let's not give the audience exactly what they want.
I think there should have been a fight between Jon Snow and Grey Worm. I think that could have followed up, like something. You could easily make this work where Grey Worm like checks on her or something and finds her, and then a fight ensues between them.
Right.
Like that could have been exciting. Anything else would have been exciting beyond this.
There's just a lot of talking in this episode, and perhaps it's because we've just become accustomed to the non-stop action that's been happening for the past couple of episodes, that now that it's in that kind of wrap-up episode, we're kind of like, well, this is a bit boring, wasn't it?
I don't think she was crazy enough.
But the thing is, right, you think about it, I could see glimpses of, in her personality, what might have drawn people to someone like Hitler in the past, you know, because she's extremely charismatic. She very much believes in her goal. Yeah. And even if she has to kill a few million people to get to this better world vision that she has, like she truly, truly believes that she's doing the right thing. And there was a good point what Jon Snow made, which is, what about everyone else who also thinks they're doing the right thing?
No, right. I mean, that's how he knew, based off what she said, is they don't have a choice. That's how he knew what he was doing was the right decision. For her not to see that coming, when she fears him as well, he's one of the greatest threats to her, because
she's blinded by her love as well, right? I mean, that's what they would have you think. Even though I'm like, I don't know if I superly buy that.
That scene right before he kills her was the first scene where I was like, okay, I'm feeling what they're telling each other for the first time. That's not good that's the first instance where it's happening, but it's good that I finally felt it there. Right. You know what I mean? Like when you could see the dilemma in his eyes, what he's feeling and thinking, because we all know he's about to shank her, right? We know that's coming, and somehow she does it. And I'm like, we all can see this, but you? Like, you really can't see this? Like,
it's the arrogance as well, right? That's the downfall of so many monarchs in the series, is they're just too arrogant to see it coming.
For some reason, I wanted to see him get on the dragon.
Me too. I wanted him to see, like, when Drogon comes up, I wanted him to touch his nose and be like, hi, I'm your new master now. But
something like that.
I guess that would have been too obvious, you know? Like, why would Drogon suddenly be like, oh, you killed my mom? Cool.
Because he's the true heir.
We can be friends.
How crazy would it have been, though, if he adopted the dragon at that moment, right? And then Grey Worm turns on Jon Snow because he killed Daenerys, and then this huge fight takes place between Jon Snow the dragon and all the Unsullied. Like, damn, that would have been something.
Yeah.
That would have been an epic ending to this show. And then Jon Snow dies in the middle of this epic battle. That's way cooler than the Wall. Like, what, the Wall? You said, I mean, we knew he was going to go retire, beyond the Wall. But, like, I just think they needed one more fight to finish this out with. And they just decided not to, because traditionally with the series, episode 10, or whatever the final episode is the, conclusion episode. I'm like, ugh. Come on.
More violence.
I mean, not that I wanted more violence. It was just that, you're so invested in the show for so long and you want to punch for that ending. You like, you know what I'm saying? You want to go with a bang, especially for the kind of show that it is. And it was like chuckles. Like, oh, maybe we should have everybody vote. Ha ha ha. Democracy. Like, what? And then Tyrion fixing the chairs. I'm like, this is what we're spending. This is what was adding to the 90-minute runtime. Like, I get it. They're little character moments and they're interesting, but for the final episode, this is what we're spending our time on. And it was like, I don't know. I guess there's no other place for that to be other than the final episode, but it's still frustrating that we're getting tons of these little things and we didn't get enough of a punch to finish the show. I mean, especially characters as strong as Daenerys and Jon Snow, people who have lived through, like, so much. And it felt like the end of Kill Bill Volume 2 for me. Huh. Like, that, it was like, there's a lot of people who love Kill Bill Volume 2, but for me, I was disappointed because I'm like, you did this whole thing with Volume 1, and then Volume 2 was a bunch of talking.
Yeah.
And then, bing, bang, boom, 7 hits and what's his name's gone. By the way, spoiler alert. So, I felt very underwhelmed, and it's like the same exact feeling here. It's like so much talking, so much slow walking. I'm like, y'all could have just cut to the top of the stairs. I would have been fine with jumping past that shit. I've got nothing but complaints for this episode, but for me, the redeeming qualities are, like you said, the acting, the music was cool.
Yeah, the music was awesome this episode.
The cinematography was a little bit less delightful than it's been in previous episodes or previous seasons. Like, it was almost like it wasn't graded as well as, that's a nitpick. I'm not even going to mention that anymore. But, like, if y'all are, like, super into cinematography, it looks very different from previous episodes in this season. I guess they were trying to distinguish it from the previous episode where it was like dark and grim, and so this is like happy and cheery, but it looked borderline soap opera-ish to me. Soap opera-ish. But anyway, I liked her speech. I really liked how she did all that.
There were some great speeches in there. Tyrion's speech as well was really great. I thought Peter Dinklage did a fantastic job.
When he took the pin and tossed it, I thought that was a powerful moment.
Yeah, that was.
Like there were some good moments in here, but just as a whole, I don't feel like it delivered as strongly as it should have. And this was my big fear. This is my big fear because, like, after a certain point, I think it was like around season 4 or 5, it was starting to wear down my patience. And everyone's like, oh my god, isn't Game of Thrones the best show ever? I'm like, I suppose, but I'm getting frustrated with it. Why? Why are you getting frustrated? Because every episode seems to just end on, like, nothing ever gets resolved. It keeps gearing us towards the end of the show.
Right.
Like, it just keeps pushing us there and pushing us there.
It's like all your questions will be answered.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be wrapped up.
And so there's never, like, it never felt complete along the way. I don't know if I have a good example off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of something else. Okay, this is a terrible example, but, okay, with The Matrix, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. The first movie felt like a whole movie.
Yeah. And
then you had extra stories to follow. Whereas I never got that sensation here. It's like every episode felt like it was depending on the next one and the next one and the next one, and nothing ever felt like it was concluding because you had to watch the whole thing to really to have a feeling of conclusion.
Well, it's a series.
No, I understand.
So, yeah.
But and so you get to the end of this and it's like, that's the conclusion?
It's pretty anticlimactic.
So you understand what I'm saying? It's like if each season felt like a somewhat of a whole, then cool. But none of them did. They were all depending on this episode.
I was getting this feeling as I was watching it that it was so meta because, and I'm not quite sure if I have completely wrapped my head around it, but I feel like they were saying something about stories, right? Because they focus on the moment where Brienne writes in the Book of the King's Guard, and she basically makes Jaime Lannister's story a little bit better than what it actually was, you know? She ended it with, he died saving his queen, which is much it's a much better ending and much more romantic than what actually happened. But then also, you know, with Bran being the keeper of the stories and remembering their narrative, I felt like it was really meta, all of that, because ultimately it almost felt like D&D were going, and this is our version of the story. Now George R.R. Martin has his version of the story, but this is our version. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Well, the reason I was saying Return of the King is because they literally have a book called A Song of Fire and Ice.
Okay. Oh yeah, and how could I forget that as well? Like them bringing in the book of A Song of Ice and Fire was so meta, because that's what it's called.
Right. So that specifically was what I was talking about when I said it's ripping off Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings did the exact same thing, where Frodo completes the book. Right. And it's the... You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about?
No. Okay. And then coming back to that as well, it's like the narrative is whoever writes the story, whoever writes history, creates the narrative.
Well, it's written by the victors.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, like Tyrion was all concerned about how he was being portrayed in it. And then I don't know if they were serious or if they were just teasing him and going, you're not even in it, you know. Right. And it's just interesting to me that they're making this whole thing about stories when we all know, you know, it all started out with George R.R. Martin's vision of the story, and his story is still not complete. Like, we don't know what he really wants. And then here, I almost feel like they're saying to the audience, okay, don't hate us, this is our story.
That was a very dissatisfying conclusion, to say the least. All the things they wanted to do in there are fine, but I wanted more than that. They should have had at least maybe one more episode or something, because I needed just a little bit more action between these characters. Like, it felt like it was building up towards just a little bit more, and we didn't get that more. It felt like it fell short. That's ultimately my frustration with this. You can do all the things you want with the character nuances, with Tyrion, with the chairs, and whatever, in the Song of Ice and Fire book. Like, you can do all that character stuff, but you needed to have a stronger punch before going there, and it didn't have that. As the show was going, I'm like, oh, this is really all they're doing. It's very simple.
It was,
It's not going to be big. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let's just...
Well, it's like, what could they have done?
I've given you so many ideas in this conversation alone. And this is just off the top of my head, by the way.
But even if they had done your ideas, someone would have been disappointed. Someone's going to be disappointed.
That's fair enough, but at least try. It didn't feel like they even tried to go anywhere with, like...
Fair enough,
you have these powerhouse people who've survived all these seasons. You need a stronger face-off, a stronger clash before that shank into her stomach. That whole thing was too simple for me. I wanted more. I wanted so much more out of that moment.
And even just crowning the king, just like, I choose Bran.
Yeah.
And like, oh, wait, you're a prisoner though. Who gave you those rights?
That whole,
You know, it felt a little bit weird to me, but whatever.
It was bordering on Monty Python. It really was. That whole scene was like with the guy standing up who wanted to be king himself, and then Sansa tells him to sit down. I'm like, I really don't have the patience for these jokes right now. Like,
I mean, I thought it was funny.
But didn't you see it coming? Like, didn't you see that joke coming?
Of course, yeah.
So, like, it's just, anyway, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this more than I did. And, or at least as much as ACHARA did. It was...
It's okay.
I don't know. I'm about as unhappy as I imagine a lot of you guys are, but do voice your frustrations and complaints in the comments below, and things you liked. I mean, maybe y'all can educate me on things I should have appreciated more. Comment below and let me know what I should like more about this episode or this season that you appreciated. And do check out ACHARA KIRK. She's got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/ACHARA. I am on the social media in addition to this YouTube channel with Instagram and Twitter if you want to follow me there. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, short films, vlogs, interviews. I am Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.